I smashed the emergency glass with my bare fist that night, not because I was scared, but because the thing inside the incubator, writhing like a half-formed nightmare, had my dead sister's eyes staring back at me. Blood trickled down my knuckles as the alarms wailed, but I didn't care. I'd already buried one family secret in this godforsaken lab, and this one was clawing its way out, demanding justice in the form of shattered vials and corporate Armageddon. Call me crazy, but in America, where dreams are built on lies and lab coats hide the devil's work, revenge isn't a choice. It's the only promotion a janitor like me ever gets. My name's Eleanor Voss, and back then, I was just the invisible woman pushing a mop through the bowels of GeneTech Dynamics, a gleaming biotech fortress in the heart of San Francisco's Mission Bay. It was 2024. The year CRISPR went from science fair project to Wall Street wet dream. And GeneTech was riding high on promises of curing cancer with a single snip of DNA.
Me?
I was 32, scraping by on minimum wage after my sister Lila's overdose 2 years prior. She was the smart one, the PhD dropout who dreamed of changing the world with her research. I was the screw-up who dropped out of community college to clean up after screw-ups like her. Irony? It's America's favorite seasoning. I'd landed the janitor gig through a temp agency that specialized in discreet hires, code for folks who wouldn't ask questions about the locked doors or the hazmat suits piling up in the laundry bins. My shift ran graveyard, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., which suited me fine. The lab was a ghost town after hours. Just the hum of fridges and the occasional ping of an elevator. I liked the solitude. It let me think about Lila without the world interrupting. She'd worked here briefly, as an intern, before burnout chewed her up and spit her out onto the streets with a needle in her arm. GeneTech had let her go for policy violations, but I knew better. The place was a pressure cooker. Scientists popping Adderall like candy to chase grants and glory.
Dr.
Harlan Reyes was the golden boy. The one everyone whispered about in the break room. Mid-40s. Chiseled jaw like a pharma ad. With a TED Talk under his belt on ethical gene editing for the masses. He led the Neurogen project, tinkering with neural pathways to enhance cognition, or so the press releases claimed. But I'd seen the real work. The stuff they didn't put on LinkedIn. Late one night, while scrubbing the sublevel B containment room, I'd glimpsed it through a cracked door, rows of Petri dishes glowing under UV lights. Not with cells, but with something that pulsed like it had a heartbeat. It started innocently enough. Harlan caught me staring one evening as I emptied his trash, crumpled notes scribbled with chemical formulas and subject LV. Viability 87%. He flashed that $1 million smile. The one that said he was doing God's work. And offered me a coffee from the Keurig in his office. Eleanor.
Right?
You're the one who keeps this place from turning into a biohazard zone. Flattery from a white coat? In my world, that was foreplay. We talked. Or rather, he talked. And I listened. He unburdened himself about the cutthroat world of academia turned corporate. How the board breathed down his neck for results yesterday. It's not about curing disease anymore. Ellie, it's about stock prices. One breakthrough, and we're immortal. One slip. He trailed off, eyes flicking to the window, overlooking the Bay Bridge, where fog swallowed the lights like unspoken regrets. I didn't tell him about Lila then, but I felt a pull, like he was echoing her ghost. She used to ramble the same way after too many Red Bulls, her voice cracking with the weight of what-ifs. A week later, he needed a favor. Just sign this NDA. Ellie. It's nothing big, logistics. It was a non-disclosure for ancillary support staff, burying me under layers of legalese that promised my silence in exchange for a $500 bonus. The task? Dispose of waste materials from his private lab, sealed biohazard bags I'd never seen before, heavy with something that sloshed unnaturally. I didn't question it. Bills don't pay themselves. And Harlan's gratitude came with tips that covered my rent. That's how I became his shadow janitor. The one who mopped up more than spills. He confided in me over stolen lunches in the loading dock, how Neurogen wasn't just editing genes, it was rewriting them. Splicing human DNA with neural enhancers derived from,
Well,
he called it proprietary sources. I pressed once. After a bag leaked a viscous green fluid that burned my gloves. It's synthetic.
Ellie.
All above board. But his eyes darted. And I remembered Lila's stories of off-book trials that got her blackballed. The betrayal hit like a freight train on a foggy October morning. I'd just clocked in when security swarmed the lobby. Badges flashing. Voices barking about a breach. Harlan's face was on every monitor, grainy footage of him injecting something into a lab rat that convulsed and grew tumors overnight. The headlines screamed, Gene Tech Insider, illegal human trials exposed. But it wasn't Harlan they dragged out in cuffs. It was me. They found the logs, my signature on those NDAs. My keycard swipes for the waste disposals. Harlan had doctored them, framing the anonymous whistleblower as the desperate janitor covering for her fix. My locker? Stuffed with vials of the same green sludge. Planted like Easter eggs for the feds. Eleanor Voss. You're under arrest for conspiracy in unauthorized genetic experimentation, the agent said.
Cuffs cold against my wrists.
I screamed for Harlan as they hauled me away. But he was gone. Vanished into the ether of executive protection. Jail was a blur of fluorescent hell and court-appointed lawyers who saw me as just another broke white girl from the Midwest playing at conspiracy. The charges stuck: felony endangerment. Evidence tampering, because who believes a janitor over a PhD? I pled out for 5 years. Probation hanging like a noose. But the real sentence was the secret Harlan buried deeper than bars. Those waste materials. They weren't synthetic. They were Lila. Her cells. Harvested post-mortem, without consent. Twisted into his God complex. He'd confessed it once. Slurring over whiskey in his office. Your sister was a gold mine. Ellie. Her neural profile. Perfect for enhancement. She didn't die for nothing. I'd laughed it off as drunk talk.
But now?
It was the knife in my gut. Twisted by his ambition. Parole came early. In 2028. After I ratted on a guard for good behavior points. America loves a reformed felon. As long as you keep your mouth shut. But I didn't. I clawed my way back to San Francisco on Greyhound fumes and spite. Crashing on a cousin's couch in Oakland. Gene Tech had weathered the scandal, Harlan's rogue actions, pinned on a fabricated suicide note. The company rebounding with a rebrand to ethical innovation. Stock prices soared. Irony's cruel cousin. I needed a plan. Revenge isn't a Netflix binge. It's a slow burn. Fed by scraps of intel from ex-employees on Reddit threads and dark web forums. Harlan had resurfaced as Chief Innovation Officer at NeoVita, a startup in Seattle poaching gene tech talent. Arrogant bastard, thought a new zip code erased the blood on his hands. I dyed my hair black, got a nose ring to age myself up, and applied for a custodian position there. Experience in high-security biotech, my resume lied. They bit. Who questions a janitor's backstory? First week. I mapped the floors, service elevators, HVAC, vents. The executive suite where Harlan held court, He looked older, stress lines etching his temples. But that smile? Still lethal. I lingered in shadows, emptying his bins, inhaling the ghost of his cologne. One night, as I vacuumed under his desk, I found it, a USB drive, tucked in a drawer like contraband. Plugged it into my burner laptop in the employee lounge, files on Project Echo, blueprints for neural implants using Lila's DNA signature. He'd continued the work, scaling it to humans. Volunteers, they called them homeless vets, foster kids, desperate souls signing away rights for a paycheck. The rage settled like fog over the sound. I wasn't just avenging Lila, I was dismantling the machine that chewed her up. But Harlan? He was no cartoon villain. He'd flip, charm one board member, sabotage another, all while preaching progress for the underserved. Controversial? Hell yes. Was he wrong to chase miracles in a broken system? Part of me, the part that scrubbed toilets while CEOs jetted to Davos, wondered if I was the villain for wanting to burn it down. I started small. Anonymous tips to journalists. Leaked memos that painted Neovita as GeneTech 2.0. Stocks dipped 5%. Harlan's face on CNBC defending cutting-edge science. But he smelled a rat. During a late shift, he cornered me in the stairwell, breath hot with recognition. Eleanor?
Jesus.
What the hell are you doing here? His eyes widened, not with fear, but pity. Look, I can help you. That mess back then, it was a mistake. Lila. She volunteered. Liar. I spat. Mop handle gripped like a bat. You harvested her like lab meat, he sighed, running a hand through silvering hair. She was in debt.
Ellie.
GeneTech offered a way out for her family.
You.
I honored that. It was the first crack in his armor. A flip from God to grieving mentor. Did I believe him? God help me. A sliver of doubt wormed in. But doubt's a luxury. Revenge is retail. That night, I escalated. Hacked the HVAC, easy. With janitor access, to release a non-lethal irritant, forcing an evacuation. In the chaos, I slipped into his lab, smashing prototypes, implants glitching on test benches, sparking like faulty Christmas lights. Alarms blared again, but this time, I was the ghost. Security chased shadows while I vanished into the Seattle drizzle. Word spread. Harlan went on the offensive, painting me as a disgruntled ex-employee with a vendetta. Pundits on Fox and MSNBC debated, was I a hero whistleblower or a terrorist in overalls? Sides formed, tech bros called me unhinged, activists hailed me as the underclass avenger. I leaned into it, dropping deepfakes on TikTok, Harlan's voice, synthesized,
Confessing to body snatching.
Views exploded. Shares hit millions. Neovita's funding dried up overnight. But Harlan flipped again. He went public with a mea culpa presser, tears glistening under studio lights. Eleanor's pain is real. We failed her sister. But destruction isn't justice. Let's collaborate for reform. The crowd ate it up. America loves a redemption arc. Investors trickled back. And suddenly, he was the martyr. Me the monster. I holed up in a Rainier Valley motel, chain-smoking camels and plotting the endgame. The climax brewed in my gut, a board meeting where Harlan would unveil Echo to salvage his empire. I'd crash it, not with guns, but truth, a live demo of his tech on himself, rigged to fail spectacularly. Controversial? Readers would split. cheer my chaos, or condemn my cruelty. No heroes here. Just survivors clawing for the light. As dawn broke over the Cascades, I packed my duffel, USBs, fake ID, a vial of that green sludge, as insurance. Harlan thought he knew Betrayal. He hadn't seen mine yet. The ferry to Bainbridge Island was my escape hatch that morning. Salt wind whipping my face as Seattle's skyline shrank to a smug silhouette. I ditched the motel at first light. Paranoia gnawing like termites, Harlan's reach was long. His apologies shorter than his patience. The presser had bought him time. But time was my enemy too. Neovita's board was spooked, sniffing for the saboteur in their ranks. I needed allies, not headlines. And the island was a haven for washed-up techies nursing grudges in craft breweries. First stop, a dive bar called the Codebreaker, where ex-Genentech refugees swapped war stories over IPAs. I slid onto a stool, nursing a PBR, ears tuned to the murmur. Reyes is full of shit, a bearded coder grumbled, his tattooed knuckles wrapping a pint. Echo's not reform, it's mind control light. Spliced in aggression markers from military contracts. His name was Jax, Lila's old lab partner, the one who'd ghosted after her death. Fate's a bitch with a PhD. I bought him around, casual as a confessional. Heard Voss is back in town. The janitor who torched Genetech. Jax's eyes narrowed, recognition flickering like a bad connection. Lila's sister?
Shit.
You're her. No denial. I laid it out, the harvest, the frame job. Harlan's flips from savior to snake. Jax listened, face hardening into the mask of a man who'd lost faith in the code. He used her samples without clearance. I have logs, timestamps, emails. Buried them to save my ass. Betrayal squared. He'd covered for Harlan too, thinking it was for the greater good. We cut a deal over greasy fries, Jax's data for my plan. He flipped sides that night. From coward to co-conspirator. Driven by ghosts of his own, a kid with autism he'd promised Lila to fix one day. This ends with him exposed. Not us in cuffs, he said, sliding me a encrypted drive. Inside, gold, raw footage of Harlan injecting volunteers, their eyes glazing with unnatural focus. Whispers of enhanced compliance. Back in the city by dusk. I went underground, literally. Seattle's tunnels, relics of Prohibition bootlegging, snaked under Pioneer Square like forgotten veins. I crashed in a squat with Jax's crew, hackers.
Dropouts.
The digital detritus of big tech's boom-bust cycle. They called themselves the Glitch Collective, a loose affiliation of anarcho-nerds who lived for leaks and lag spikes. You're our analog weapon, their leader. A non-binary coder named Riley. Quipped, handing me a hoodie with circuit board sleeves. Harlan's firewall's tight, but janitors have keys no VPN can crack. We schemed in the glow of laptops. Caffeine-fueled marathons that blurred into dawn. The board meeting was set for Friday, Neovita's Hail Mary, pitching Echo to venture capitalists hungry for the next Neuralink. Harlan would demo a live implant, a success story, some washed-up exec wired for genius. My twist? Rig the device with Jax's virus, a glitch that'd amplify the enhancements to caricature levels, turning clarity into cacophony. The volunteer would babble secrets, Harlan's included, live on stream. But doubt crept in like damp rot. Was this justice or just my ego? Dragging innocence into the fire? The volunteer, Marcus, per the files, was a Gulf War vet, trading his silence for rent money. Harlan had preyed on him. Same as Lila. promising purpose in a system that chewed soldiers and spit out statistics. Flipping the script meant using him too, a controversial calculus that split the collective. "You're no better than Reyes," Riley accused during a heated huddle, voice echoing off concrete walls. Revenge porn for the algorithm age. Jax defended me, but his eyes wavered. Another flip. Loyalty stretched thin as Ethernet cable. America's underbelly thrives on these fractures, the endless debate over ends justifying means. Fox News ran segments on the janitor jihad, painting me as a MAGA-fueled Luddite sabotaging progress. CNN countered with corporate Frankenstein, interviews with ethicists decrying Harlan's hubris. Social media? A battlefield. Justice for Lila trended alongside Save Echo. Strangers picking sides like it was the Super Bowl. I scrolled incognito, heart pounding at the vitriol. Eleanor's a killer, denying cures for the needy.
No.
She's the canary, Big Pharma's poison pill. Harlan struck back midweek. A velvet glove over an iron subpoena. My cousin's phone rang off the hook. FBI feelers. Persons of interest chats that chilled her to forwarding my mail. He flipped to protector mode in a leaked email Jack snagged. Eleanor's unstable, PTSD from incarceration. Let's get her help. Not headlines. Gaslighting gold. It humanized him.
Vilified me.
Investors bit. RSVPs flooding the meeting roster. I pushed through, nerves frayed as old wiring. Thursday night.
Infiltrated neo vita solo, janitor drag.
Service elevator to sublevel C. The lab hummed with pre-demo prep, techs calibrating implants. Marcus strapped to a gurney, eyes vacant under sedation. Harlan hovered, clipboard in hand, murmuring encouragements that sounded like prayers. Our eyes met through the observation glass, his widened, then softened into that damn pity. Ellie?
Stop this.
For Lila. I slipped in later. Post-shift. Ghosting past cameras with a borrowed key fob. The implant rig was a sleek helmet, wires snaking to a central processor. Jax's virus? Uploaded via USB port, disguised as a firmware update. It'd trigger mid-demo, neural overload, flooding Marcus's synapses with Harlan's archived confessions, digitized from therapy sessions he'd accidentally left on a server. Controversial as hell, weaponizing vulnerability, turning a man's mind into my megaphone. As I unplugged, footsteps echoed. Harlan. Alone. Jacket slung over shoulder. I knew you'd come. No alarm. Just resignation. He leaned against the doorframe, blocking escape. What do you want? Really?
Money?
A job? I can make the charges disappear. Truth, I whispered. Vial of sludge clutched in pocket like a talisman. You stole her soul for your stock options. He sighed, flipping to confessor. Lila begged me.
Ellie.
Debts up to her eyeballs, loans from the company. Experimental trials she volunteered for to pay them off. Harvesting was her gift. Post-mortem. Ethical gray area. Sure. But she wanted you safe. Lies layered like Philo. But his voice cracked. Eyes wet. Was it real? A master manipulator's tear? Or a man's unraveling? I hesitated, the room thick with unspoken what-ifs. Then Marcus stirred, mumbling in his sleep. Reyes.
Promised.
No more pain. Harlan's face crumpled. He flipped again, lunging for the vial. You don't understand. The work saves lives. We grappled. A clumsy ballet of elbows and whispers. Until I kneed him square. Breath whooshing out as he crumpled. I fled into the night. Heart hammering. The glitch armed and waiting. Friday dawned gray. The meeting a spectacle in Neovita's glass atrium, VCs in bespoke suits. Champagne flutes clinking like fragile egos. I watched from a service closet, live feed on a pilfered tablet. Harlan took the stage. Charisma dialed to 11. Echo isn't augmentation, it's equity. Giving the overlooked a fighting chance. Marcus wheeled out, smiling blankly, the helmet humming to life. The demo ignited, questions sharpened, insights flowed. Applause rippled. Then the glitch. Marcus's eyes bulged, voice booming through speakers. Harlan Reyes harvested Lila Voss's corpse. Illegal splice. Gene tech cover-up. Volunteers expendable. Confessions poured. Harlan's digitized sins in Marcus's timbre. Affairs with bored wives. Fudged trials. Lila's final plea. Tell Ellie I'm sorry. Chaos erupted. VCs bolted. Phones out. Streaming the meltdown. Harlan froze. Mic in hand. Face ashen.
It's
fabricated. A hack. But the damage was viral. Shares cratering in real time. Security swarmed, but I was already gone, slipping out a back door into the scrum of reporters. The collective celebrated that night in the tunnels, beers raised to the fall of empires. But victory tasted like ash. Marcus?
rushed to are.
Neural whiplash leaving him catatonic. Harlan? Hold up. Lawyer to the gills. Flipping narrative to victim of deep fake terror. Sides deepened. Ethicists decried my methods as psychological warfare, while podcasters crowned me folk hero. Was I right to break a man to free others? The debate raged, mirroring the fracture in my soul. Jax pulled me aside. Drive in hand, backup files, insurance. We did it.
El.
But at what cost? His flip complete. From enabler to uneasy conscience. I had no answer. Just the vial burning a hole in my pocket. Harlan's blood, metaphorical. For now, on my hands. The fallout hit like a Pacific squall. Relentless. Soaking everything in its path. By Saturday, Neovita's HQ was a ghost ship. Yellow tape fluttering in the wind. Executives scattering like roaches under Klieg lights. Harlan's penthouse in Belltown became a fortress. Blinds drawn against paparazzi drones, buzzing like angry hornets. I tracked it all from a burner phone in a Capitol Hill coffee shop. The kind with mismatched mugs and baristas who didn't blink at cash-only transients. The internet was my war room. Echogate trending. Memes of Harlan as Frankenstein morphing into crying Jordan face. Public opinion? A Rorschach test. Half saw me as avenging angel. The other as chaotic clown. But angels don't sleep with one eye open. Pistol under pillow. Not a real one, pepper spray modded to look tough. Courtesy of the collective. Jax went dark after the demo. Texting coordinates for a dead drop. More files. This time on Harlan's offshore slush funds. Laundering trial profits through Cayman shells. Finish it, his note read. Before he flips the script again. Flips, Harlan's superpower. Turning scandals into stepping stones. Monday's leak proved it. A suicide note from Marcus. Forged to blame external agitators for his breakdown. The vet's family, drowning in medical bills. Ate it up, press conference tears. Pleas for privacy. Harlan's lawyers spun it gold. Tragic casualty of cybervigilantism. Rage boiled fresh. I needed to hit closer. Make the betrayal personal. Infiltrating his inner circle meant going high society. A world of galas and Gulf streams where janitors were scenery. Riley from the collective hooked me up. Fake invite to a biotech resilience summit at the Edgewater Hotel. Under the alias Elena Voss. Independent ethics consultant. The dress? Thrifted sheath in emerald silk. Hugging curves I forgot I had. Heels that screamed money I didn't. Mirror check. Hollow-eyed warrior. Lipstick like war paint. The summit was a circus of cognitive dissonance, panels on sustainable innovation, while waitstaff dodged selfie sticks. Harlan keynote. Voice steady as rebar. Adversity forges breakthroughs. Echo indoors. Applause thundered. But I saw the tells, tremor in his coffee cup. Eyes scanning exits. Post-talk mingle. I bumped into him at the raw bar. Oysters glistening like lies.
Dr.
Reyes? Elena Voss, your gene tech work inspired my thesis on equity and augmentation. Flattery's universal solvent. He bit. Clinking glasses. That smile flickering back to life. We talked shop, or rather, he monologued, me nodding like a bobblehead. The system's flawed.
Elena.
But destruction? That's the real crime. His flip to philosopher. Probing my views, with questions laced in charm. I parried. Dropping Lila's name casual as a crumb. Knew a researcher there, Lila Voss. Tragic end. His fork paused mid-oyster. Adam's apple bobbing.
Voss. Yes.
Bright mind. Lost to. Circumstances. The air thickened. Our bubble shrinking amid the schmooze. He invited me to his suite for deeper discussion, code for power plays. But I went, wired with a collective bug in my earrings. The room screamed old money, leather club chairs. View of fairies slicing the sound. Harlan poured scotch. Neat. Settling into raconteur mode. Truth is, Elena, I've made mistakes. Lila. She was collateral in a larger war. Confession dribbled out. Lubricated by liquor, how Geneteka's board pushed illegal shortcuts. He covered to protect the team. I framed you, yes. Unforgivable. But it saved jobs. Research. Greater good. Flip to apologist. Tears real this time. Voice cracking on I loved her. In a way.
Loved?
The word landed like a sucker punch. Lila's letters from the end, ramblings of a mentor who understood, flashed in my mind. Had it been more? The bug captured it all. Harlan unraveling, affairs masked as collaborations. Her overdose not accident, but escape from his web. She threatened to expose us.
I
pushed too hard. Not murder, but manslaughter by ambition. My hand itched for the vial in my clutch, but I played cool, feigning empathy. We all carry ghosts, doctor. He leaned in, breath scotch sweet. Join me. Redeem it, co-author a paper on ethical safeguards. Your voice could change everything. The ultimate flip, from foe to partner. Offering absolution on a silver platter. Temptation clawed legitimacy. A seat at the table I'd mopped under. But ghosts don't negotiate. I smiled, clinking glasses. I'd like that. The leak dropped Tuesday. Audio of Harlan's pour out. Edited for maximum gut punch. Lila Voss, tragic pawn in biotech's game. The stranger headlined, quotes dripping guilt. Stocks tanked 20%. Board ousting him in emergency session. Pundits piled on. NPR ethics roundtables debating if love excuses exploitation. Reddit threads dissecting my seduction ploy as feminist takedown or manipulative sleaze. Sides calcified. Harlan hero for his honest reckoning. Eleanor exposed calling me a honey trap harpy. Harlan retaliated swift, suing for defamation, claiming deepfake. But the damage festered, whispers of federal probes into Neovita's books, IRS sniffing his caimans. He flipped to scorched earth, leaking my parole records to tabloids, felon janitor's crusade of lies. Doxing followed, my cousin's address online, death threats pinging burners. The collective fractured. Riley bailed, muttering about moral quicksand. Jack stuck, but his texts grew terse. He's coming for us. Endgame now. I chose the lab, poetic. Full circle. Midnight raid. Overalls and gloves, slipping past skeleton crew with a clone badge. Sublevel C. Prototypes mothballed, air thick with ozone regret. Harlan waited, silhouetted by emergency lights.
No code.
Sleeves rolled like a surgeon prepping for his own dissection.
Ellie.
Knew it was you. No security, just us.
Ghosts in the machine.
You offered redemption, I said, circling the gurney where Marcus had lain. But Lila's isn't yours to give. He laughed, bitter as battery acid. Redemption? That's your delusion. I built empires while you mopped floors. She chose me, chose the work. Flip to defender, jabbing at my class war armor. You're no avenger, you're jealous. Of her brain, my balls. Crude, cutting, hitting the undercurrent I'd buried. Envy of Lila's spark. Harlan swagger. Did I hate him for stealing her? Or for succeeding where we failed? We clashed verbal first, him justifying flips as adaptation, me hurling back the human cost. Then physical, he grabbed my arm, twisting for the vial I pulled. That's poison, her essence. Twisted. Struggle spilled us across the floor. Consoles sparking. Alarm silent from my pre-jam. I pinned him. Knee on chest. Vial uncorked hovering over his lips. Drink your creation.
Doctor.
Taste the mistake. His eyes, Lila's eyes. In that moment, pleaded. Don't. We can fix this. Together. Final flip, broken man, offering partnership anew. The room spun. Controversy incarnate, kill the snake. Or join the coil. Readers would rage, mercy villainy, vengeance folly. My hand trembled, the green sludge dripping like verdant tears.
A beat.
Then sirens, his insurance.
A panic button.
I bolted, vial resealed, leaving him gasping amid the wreckage. Outside, rain lashed like judgment, Seattle's underbelly swallowing me whole. The safe house in Fremont was a fever dream of exposed brick and server hums. The collective's last stand against Harlan's gathering storm. Jack's pace circuits around a folding table littered with Red Bull cans and router guts. His face gaunt under LED glare. Feds are circling, subpoenas for the lot of us. Your audio? It's everywhere. But he's lawyered up, claiming coercion. Coercion, his flip to victim. Painting our summit chat as extortion. The vile incident? No witnesses. But security cams caught shadows. He'd spin it as assault. Me the aggressor in a tale of twisted obsession. I slumped in a beanbag. Bruises blooming purple from our tussle. The weight of almost pressing like wet cement. Almost killed him. Almost believed him. Lila's ghost hovered. Not vengeful specter, but weary sister. Whispering, enough.
El. Live.
But living meant reckoning, with the man I'd half broken. The empire crumbling in my wake. Neovita filed Chapter 11 by Wednesday. Assets fire-sailed to competitors sniffing bargains. Harlan? Resigned for personal reasons, but rumors swirled of a cushy advisory gig at a Swiss clinic, flipping exile to exile chic. Public verdict split wider than the Grand Canyon. Late-night shows roasted him, Colbert dubbing Dr. Flip-flop, sketches of him shape-shifting mid-monologue. But serious outlets dissected deeper. The Atlantic's The Janitor's Dilemma, when whistleblowing becomes witch hunt, arguing my methods eroded trust in reform. Activists rallied outside shuttered labs, Voss verdict banners waving. But counter-protests decried anti-science anarchy. Families of eco-volunteers sued, caught in crossfire, blaming Harlan's hubris. My havoc. No winners. Just wreckage. The American way, debate as distraction from doing better. Jax cracked the endgame that night, decrypting a final file from the dead drop, Harlan's kill switch. A backdoor in Echo's core code. Designed to brick all implants if exposed. Remote wipe. Frying neural pathways. Volunteers like Marcus? Vegetable risks. A corporate cyanide pill. He's not running, Jax said. Screen glow carving hollows in his cheeks. He's tying loose ends. Activate it. And dozens pay for his sins. We drove to his Belltown lair at 3 a.m., rain-slick streets mirroring my resolve. Jax hacked the lobby cams, looped footage of empty halls, while I ghosted upstairs. Master key from a bribed super. The penthouse door yielded to a pick set. Riley's parting gift. Inside, dim lamps. Jazz crooning low. Harlan in a wingback chair. Tumbler in hand, staring at the sound like it held answers. You brought friends, he murmured. Not turning. Jax's shadow in the hall. My silhouette in the doorway. No gun. Just the vial and a USB of his kill switch. Predictable. This ends tonight, I said, voice steady as rebar. No more flips. Deactivate the switch. Confess clean, Lila. The trials. All of it. Or we leak it. Let the world watch you play God with ghosts. He rose slow. Scotch sloshing. Eyes bloodshot maps of exhaustion. And if I don't, you poison me? Hack my life to ruins. Flip to cornered wolf. Circling the rug like a duelist. You're destroying progress. Eleanor. Cures lost. Lives unenhanced. For what? Your sister's grudge. Her life, I countered. Vile glinting. You commodified her. Then me. Greater good? Bullshit for boardrooms. Jax chimed in from the shadows. Codes ready. One click. And your legacy's a lawsuit graveyard. Harlan laughed. Hollow. Legacy? I wanted to save her us. Lila saw the potential. Push me to harvest. For Ellie, she said. Debt-free future. The room tilted. Truth or tactic? He pulled a folder from the side table, Lila's will. Notarized. Gifting tissue rights to HR for familial support. Forged? Authentic? My world cracked. Doubt flooding like bilge. We argued dawn through, him defending ambition's toll. Me the human ledger of lies. Jax mediated. Voice cracking. We're all complicit. I buried files. You signed NDAs. Flips cascaded. Harlan to ally. Offering the folder as proof. Publish it. Clear your name. Me to hesitator. Vile lowering. Jax to wildcard. Pocketing the USB. Or we burn it all, switch and servers. Sirens wailed distant. Feds closing in on a tip. Choice crystallized. Activate. Doom volunteers in righteous fire? Confess. Risk Lila's consent to whitewashing sins? Or walk? Let courts chew the controversy eternal? Harlan's eyes met mine.
Stripped bara. Choose. Ellie.
Vengeance or something more. I chose twist, the vial to his lips. Not poison, but placebo saline, swapped in the safe house. Drink. He did, choking on symbolism. Then, the real pour, I confess my doubt. The envy, the near belief in his greater good. We're both monsters, I said. But yours killed her. He nodded. Broken. Deactivated.
Publicly.
For her. We broadcast from his balcony, live stream. Harlan at the podium, Jack's rigged. I confess, illegal actions, personal failings. Lila Voss's legacy misused. The switch, dismantled. Live. Code executed. Implant safe. Feeds exploded, tears. Gasps. The flip final, villain to penitent. Cops arrived post-stream. Cuffs for him.
Questions for me.
But the folder? Lila's real will. No HR. Clause, his last lie exposed in ink. Charges flew. Fraud. Desecration. Neovita, dissolved. Assets to victim funds.
Me?
Immunity for testimony. A book deal dangling. America's redemption fetish. Epilogue months later, Seattle spring. Cherry blossoms mocking winter's wrath. I visited Marcus. Rehab slow but steady. His grin lopsided but lit. Heard you saved my wiring. Voss. Jack started a non-profit, ethical AI for the underserved. Harlan, 10 years. White-collar purgatory. Letters pleading forgiveness, I filed unread. Happy? Tragic? Debate fodder. Did grace betray justice? Or elevate it? Lila's eyes in my dreams, smiling now.
Free.
I walk Bay Streets. No mop.
Just me.
Revenge's bill came due. Paid in gray. In America's grand, grim theater. That's the twist, no curtain call. Just echoes arguing in the dark.